السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. السلام عليكم يا دكاترة. الصوت واضح؟
اهلا، صباح النور. ايه واضح.
تمام، السكرين عندي واضحة لحضراتكم كده؟
ايه صفحه اليوتيوب واضح.
اه
بلاylist.
تمام. ان شاء الله باذن الله هنتكلم النهارده في تو توبكس. اول توبيك باذن الله هنتكلم فيه عن الكواليتي كنترول والدايجنوستيك اكيورسي في النيوكلير ميديسن. يمكن هنتكلم مينلي على السبيكت او على ال 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 بالنسبه لي السبيكت ماشين. مش هنتكلم على البيت، هنتكلم على اهميه الكواليتي كنترول في الدايجنوستيك اكيورسي. طبعا زي ما حضراتكم عارفين الكيو سي بروسيدورز اللي هي اكوردنج للنيما تيست او الدبل اي بي ام ستاندردز اللي هي المفروض تتعمل بريكومندد فريكوانسي معين، ديلي او ويكلي او باي ويكلي او كوارترلي او انولي. المفروض التست دي في منها بيتعمل باي تكنولوجيست، وفي الميديكال فيزيست اللي موجود عند حضرتك في الديبارتمنت المفروض بيبقى ريسبونسبل ان هو سوبرفايزنج كل كواليتي كنترول بروسيدور، وبلس ان هو كمان بيعمل المانثلي كيو سي والكوارترلي كيو سي والانولي كيو سي. بلس طبعا الاكسبتنس تيست اللي بتتعمل للماشين وانس افتر انستوليشن، يبتدي ان هو يعمل الاكسبتنس تيست ويشوف السبيسيفيكيشنز للماشينز دي، هل ان هي بتميت الريكويرمنتس او البرشيزنج شيت اللي هو اوريدي، او برشيزنج كونتراكت اللي هو اوريدي منشن في السبيسيفيكيشن للماشين. حضرتك مثلا تبقى ذاكر sensitivity to be at a certain value، مثلا الريزوليوشن، الكريستال ثيكنس، مثلا هاو ماني كيلومترز يو هاف، كل السبيسيفيكيشنز اللي هي المفروض الماكسيمم كاونت ريت، التوموجرافيك ريزوليوشن، البيكسل سايز، كل الكواليتي كنترول او كل السبيسيفيكيشنز بتاعت الماشين المفروض يتعمل لها اكسبتنس تيست. في الحقيقه ان حضرتك النهارده ممكن حضرتك طبعا از فيزيشن او از نيوكلير ميديسن سبيشالست بتبقى مسؤول انك انت تشوف الايمج في وتشوف وتعمل ريبورتنج للحاله. ولكن في بعض الاحيان بيحصل ان الكواليتي كنترول بروسيدور نفسها ما بتتمش، او بيحصل بعض المشاكل اللي موجوده في الكواليتي كنترول بروسيدور، والمشاكل دي بيبقى ليها significant effect على الايمج كواليتي وعلى الدياجنوزس. وللاسف ما بتبقاش، ما بتقدرش ان هي يعني cannot be detectable، يعني ما بتقدرش ان هي تعملها ديتكشن بمجرد ما بتشوف الايمج. في طبعا بعض الارتفاكتس الواضحه اللي ما فيش فيها مشاكل، ولكن في بعض المشاكل اللي ممكن تبقى ريليتد بالكواليتي كنترول، وتيجي حضرتك مثلا تشوف الايمج اوكي اتس اكسبتد بالنسبه لك، ولكن في الحقيقه في مشكله في الماشين، او في اليونيفورميتي، او في شيفت في البيك، او وات ايفر ايه هي المشكله اللي حصلت، وبتافكت معاك على الايمج، على الدياجنوزس بعد كده. دي ممكن تؤثر، يعني يبقى حضرتك بعد كده لما تيجي تعمل دياجنوز للكيس نفسها يبقى في فولس دياجنوزس. زي ما حضراتكم يعني عارفين الميكانيزم اوف جاما فوتون ديتكشن بالنسبه للجاما كاميرا. حضرتك لو عندك راديو ايزوتوب، الراديو ايزوتوب ده بيميت لما بعد ما بنعمل انجكشن للبيشنت براديو اكتيف ماتيريال، بيبتدي لو فرضنا مثلا ان انا حقن البيشنت ده بتكنيشيوم 99 ام، المفروض الكريستال بتاعتك او الماشين بتاعتك او السبكت او الجاما كاميرا، المفروض الفوتونز اللي هي emitted من البيشنت، هل كل الفوتونز اللي هي emitted من البيشنت دي 140 كيلو الكترون فولت، ولا مختلفه في الطاقات بتاعتها؟ هذه فكره. هل الجاما فوتونز اللي هي emitted من البيشنت بعد عمليه الانجكشن، انا حقنت البيشنت دلوقتي عملت انجكشن مثلا بتكنيشيوم سيستم مثلا، و حصل البايو ديستريبيوشن لتكنيشيوم سيستم ميبي، وبعد كده الجاما فوتونز بدات تخرج من البيشنت وبدات اعمل لها ديتكشن بالجاما كاميرا. هل الفوتونز اللي خرجت من البيشنت كلها 140 كيلو الكترون فولت؟ هل تتوقع انها تكون كلها رينج؟ طب الرينج ده من كام لكام؟ طيب انا بتكلم عن الرينج. you are talking about the range you are detecting, but I'm talking about the photons which are emitted from the patient. Okay, when I inject patient with technetium system maybe, or which emit already 140 kilo electron volt, I want to understand exactly what happened inside the patient. When you inject patient with 140 kilo electron volt, that's mean it doesn't mean that all photons emitted from the patient 140 kilo electron volt, because photons will go through different interactions like photoelectric effect, like Compton scattering. Okay, so some photons will be totally absorbed inside the patient, will be attenuated, okay, by photoelectric interaction. I think you know photoelectric interaction. The photon itself gave all its energy to the electron, so at that time the electron knocked out from the atom, so it become photoelectron which is totally attenuated inside the patient body. But if the photon go through Compton interaction, so at that time the photon will give part of its energy to the electron, which is at the outermost shell of electron of the atom, and give part of its energy, and the electron scattered or knocked out from the atom, and the photon itself is scattered, so it becomes scattered photon. Okay, so at that time the photon itself lost some of its energy, okay, and the photon will not have 140 kilo electron volt. Is it clear for you? Yes, so some photons will go out of patient, okay, without any interactions. It will be 140 kilo electron volt. So at that time, the crystal itself will receive 140 kilo electron volt photons, which are not absorbed by patient or not going to any interaction inside the patient, and will receive scatter photon with less energy. Okay, so the crystal itself, after passing the photons from the collimator and interact with the crystal itself, it will interact with the crystal. So it will interaction with the crystal, it will be photoelectric effect or Compton scattering. Okay, both of them will be happening in the crystal itself. So the scintillation light will be absorbed by the photomultiplier tube. Scintillated light, or the light which is emitted from the location of interaction between the incident photon and the crystal, okay, this light will be converted to electron inside the photomultiplier tube. Okay, so the intensity of light emitted depends on the energy of photon incident on the crystal itself. If the energy of the photon incident on the crystal high, that means the light intensity will be high. Okay, so you will get a range. As you can see here, you will find here is a source, or here organ containing radioactive material. Okay, so the photon will come perpendicularly to the crystal itself. At that time, will be absorbed at the crystal at this point. Okay, so sometimes the photon itself, okay, might go through Compton scattering, so it will be scattered, so it will interact in another location of the crystal itself. That's why you will find a range of energies which is detected by the crystal. Not all photons 140 kilo electron volt. You know the energy spectrum, this one. The energy spectrum not only 140 kilo electron volt, but you will find different or range of energies. Okay, these low intensity photons, okay, which go through Compton interaction, that means the light intensity is low, so the intensity of photon, number of photons here is very low, but here is the highest intensity of light photons. because all photons which form this peak is 140 kilo electron volt. For that reason انت حضرتك عندك ال 140 كيلو الكترون فولت وعندك الكومبتون ايدج او الكومبتون بيك. طيب في عندي فانكشن اوف بالس هايت انالايزر. بالس هايت انالايزر الفانكشن بتاعته ان هو بيقدر ان هو يعمل بيتحدد اللور ديسكريمينيتور والابر ديسكريمينيتور. السيجنالز اللي جايه اللي هي اوريدي ديتكتد باي الكريستال، احنا قلنا في wide range of energies but you are interested in only the 140 kilo electron volt, so you have to adjust the peak of detection to 140 kilo electron volt, which is a desirable energy, and plus or minus 10%, which is called the window. Okay, so at that time we are adjusting the peak, this peak 140 kilo electron volt plus or minus 20 or 10%. Okay, so that means all photons which form the image coming out from this range of energies. Okay, 140 kilo electron volt plus or minus 10%. Okay, so let me ask you one question. From your clinical point of view, can you detect any difference from these four images of thyroid scan? Regarding thyroid uptake or في اي difference، في اي significant difference ما بين الفور images للثيرويد سكان ده؟ الصوت وصل لحضراتكم يا دكاتره؟
Yes, zero off peak is better image quality with good target accuracy. Image thyroid obviously, as compared to the other deviated images.
Okay, from your clinical point of view, if you don't know that there is a shift or peak shift at that time in your from your clinical point of view or in diagnosis in your report, you can detect that there is any shift in the peak. If the image come to your PAC system like that or like that, you can detect any.
No, it is difficult.
It is difficult, yes, it's difficult to detect any shift in the peak. That's what I'm telling you, yeah, because here, as you can see here, that there is an off shift or peak shift in the peak of the photo peak. As you can see here, 0%, there is no shift here, 2% here, 4%, 6%. Okay, so at that time the image quality is different, and also I think the diagnosis will not be the same from this first image to the fourth image here. Okay, also here, this fourth image example, this is TMSA for renal scan for kidney. As you can see here, this is without any off peak. Okay, at that time you will find that you are adjusting or collecting the count at 140 kilo electron volt plus or minus 10%, so you will get this image. But with shifting the peak 2%, you will get this image. 4%, you will get this image. 6%, you will get this image. So that means, okay, that technologist has to check every day the daily QC, the peaking test, to check that your machine is working properly at 140 kilo electron volt plus or minus 20%. As you can see here, this is the uniformity test we are doing every day using cobalt flood source. So at that time, the image quality will be like that. But if the peak shift towards the lowest energy, the image quality will be like that. But if the peak shift towards the highest energy, the image quality will be like that. So there is a big difference here, as you can see. Okay, so this is the proper image. You have to get it every day. So that means the daily quality control is very important. So you cannot detect by your eyes, you can detect from your clinical point of view that there is any problem in the quality control. If the image come to your PAC system with this quality, so you cannot determine exactly what happened or what's behind this. So technologists should check every day, must check every day the daily quality control, the peaking test of the machine. Same here. Okay, here also you can see here the 2% of peak, 2% of peak, 4%, 6%. So as you can see here, this is my cardiac defect, which is increasing size, increasing by increasing the peak. So it's important also for diagnosis. Here also, if the peak itself it shifted for it changed from 140 kilo electron volt to 125 kilo electron volt. Okay, so can I ask you what's the difference between 140 and 125 from your point of view, from your clinical point of view, or the image quality? Which one is better, 140 or 125? Definitely 140, yes, because
we have a sharp image rather than this one.
yes, you are right. So now here is the background is very high, so the contrast here is less than 140 kiloelectron volt. Okay, so this sharp image enable you to for proper diagnosis and to be accurate of in diagnosis procedure. So now for 140 kiloelectron volt and 155, here is a more highest contrast, but it will cause false diagnosis. As you can see, here is a false defect or this defect, which is not real one. So be sure about that your technician is working at the energy, the required energy of the radioisotope, which is 140 kiloelectron volt. So here also, as you can see here for the sinogram image, is at 140 kiloelectron volt. Here 125 kiloelectron volt, the scatter increased at the image. Okay, here 155 kiloelectron volt, more sharp image, more high contrast image, but it will cause a false positive or false positive defects in the image itself. Okay, so now if we adjust the window here, plus or minus 10%, 20%, okay, what's the difference between plus or minus 20% or 30% or 40%? If I scan patient now for cardiac imaging, for example, okay, and we are doing scan for patients at window plus or minus 10%, 20%, 30%. Can you tell me what's the difference between what's the difference in the image quality between the three different windows? Which one is better? 10%, 20%, 30%. For this one, which one is better? This one is good or bad? This one is good or bad? I think this.
This is optimal.
Okay. Okay, for this one.
This is not good. There is a lot of scatter and
Yes, this
this
one.
one, yeah, acceptable for
Okay.
diagnostic purpose. This one is a poor target to background ratio. I will not use it.
Yes, okay, that's fine. Okay, so when increasing the energy window, that means you are adding more scattered photon, okay? So that means the contrast will be less. Contrast will be less in the image. So you have to adjust the window at the optimal value, which is plus or minus 20% or whatever you want as per the machine specifications or doctor's opinion, because I think you have a significant role at the beginning in the department. You have to try with different windows. You have to make different images with different windows. At the time you are setting the protocol, you have to give your opinion, okay, from your clinical point of view. Okay, this one is accepted for me, so we have to adjust the protocol at a certain value, which is 10% or 20%. But let me tell you something other. If you adjust the window, which is to be greater than 10% or 20%, that means you will collect more counts, okay? So you will scan the patient faster, okay? But if you reduce the energy window, you will get higher image quality, but it takes more time to collect more counts, okay? Here, do you know something about this curve? Do you know something about modulation transfer function, MTF? Do you hear about it before? Okay, this curve is very important, which represents the resolution of the machine. Okay, for any machine, for any imaging modality, come to our radiology or nuclear department, you have to check this curve. This curve represents how many line pairs per centimeter or millimeter your machine can be detected with which efficiency. So, as you can see here, MTF, which represent here 1, that means it's 100%. So the efficiency of the machine at this point is 100%. Okay, so the machine can detect a certain number of line pairs at this efficiency, but increasing the line pairs, okay, per millimeter or per centimeter, that cause reducing in MTF value, reducing in the efficiency of the machine itself. Okay, so the reduction in the efficiency of the machine with the scatter is more than the reduction in the efficiency of the machine without a scatter. Okay, this is important curve which used for to detect the special resolution of the machine or modulation transfer function. Okay, so here, as you know very well, that we are doing
Teacher,
any.
sorry. I didn't understand this modulation transfer function.
Okay, okay. Let me explain to you simply. Okay, for any machine, for any imaging modality, you have to check the modulation transfer function. Okay, do you know something about the line pairs? This one. Sorry, but I want to for you. Okay. Do you know the quadrant bar phantom? Quadrant bar phantom. Do you know it, doctor?
No.
Okay, quadrant bar phantom. Okay, it composed from it's like that. It's like square. Okay, contain different line pairs. Different line pairs. You will find different line pairs with different gaps. As you will find here the line pairs like that. Okay.
Yes, I remember. Yeah.
Okay, that's fine. Okay, here, for example, you will find the line pairs gap is 2.5 millimeter. Here, the gap is around 3.1 millimeter. Here, the gap is higher, which is 3.5 millimeter. Here is 4 millimeter. What's the function of this quadrant bar phantom? This quadrant bar phantom enable us to calculate or to detect or to verify the resolution of the machine itself. Okay, the resolution of the machine represented by the modulation transfer function. Okay, if I tell you something now, if you have two lines like that, by your eyes, you can detect it as a two separate lines or not?
Yes, I can.
Yes, sure. Okay, so if I make the two line pairs very close to each other like that, you can see them as a two separate lines. Still, you can. Yes. Yes. Okay. So this is the first one, second one. So now, if I make it like that, okay, still you can. It's difficult. So that's mean, okay, that's mean this one, this line and gap, which is called line pairs. This line and the gap is called line pair. Line and the gap called line pair. Okay, this is the meaning of line pair. Okay, line and the gap. Okay, so here, for example, how many line pairs per centimeter? Here, you cannot put more line pairs per centimeter because the gap is very high. So at that time, we will say it's around 4 line pairs per centimeter. Here, you can add more line pairs per centimeter. Yes, you can. Yes, yes. So it will be 3.1 line pairs per centimeter. For this one, you can add more line pairs per centimeter, which will be 2.5 line pairs per centimeter. Okay, so this is the meaning of line pairs. So now, two line pairs. If I draw now line profile, what will be happen? Line profile, that means I am asking the machine itself to give us the counts per pixel through this line, count per pixel over this line. So here, if for example, if I have a radioactive source, okay, and using this quadrant bar phantom, okay, to give us to be imaged using this quadrant bar phantom. So this line is composed of lead material. So that means the curve will be like that. Here, background will be very high count, here low count, here high count, here low count. It's like sine wave. You understand now why I'm drawing this one? Okay, so now for this line pairs, if I draw the line profile, it will be like that. Okay, so if I make it more closer to each other, if I draw line profile, the frequency will be increased. If I make it like that, more closer, so it will be, frequency will be increased. Okay, so now I'm doing a representation for the line pairs per centimeter as a frequency, okay? So now you have here a relation between frequency and contrast. Which one gives you high contrast? The lower frequency or the higher frequency? Which one the machine can detect the difference between the line pairs? Lower frequency or higher frequency?
Higher frequency.
Sorry, again, when the line pairs are very close to each other, the machine, is it easy for the machine to detect the line pairs at that time? No, yes, but if the line pairs are not close to each other, or there is enough space to be detectable, at that time the efficiency is very high. So we are drawing this curve. That means at low frequency, the contrast is very high, or the efficiency of the machine is very high. By increasing the frequency, that means you are increasing the line pairs per centimeter, so the efficiency become low. So you have to ask yourself, at 10% efficiency or at 10% contrast, how many line pairs can be detected by our machine? Okay?
What about the spatial resolution? Is it affected?
Sure. I'm talking.
Should be inversely related to the frequency.
Inversely, when increasing the frequency, spatial resolution also decreased. Okay, so here is I'm talking only about the contrast to simplify it to you to understand. But here also the contrast and the resolution will be at the same meaning, going together. Okay, so at 10%, you have to ask yourself how many line pairs I can detect it. Okay, for any machine, for any imaging modality, you will find line pairs per centimeter at 10% MTF. MTF here is the modulation transfer function, which is the ratio between the contrast of the image in the real and the contrast of the image, ratio between the contrast of the image on the machine itself to the contrast of the image, okay, in real situation. Always the contrast of the image in real situation without any imaging modality, it's 100%. But the contrast of the machine itself, it differs as per the machine specifications. To simplify it to you, these two line pairs. Okay, I'm drawing now two line pairs. Okay? If your eyes cannot detect the two line pairs, that means the two line pairs are two line pairs or not two line pairs? Two line pairs, okay? But the deficiency or the problem in your eyes, you cannot detect it, okay? If the machine itself cannot detect the two line pairs as a two line pair, the problem in the machine itself, not in the two line pairs. Okay, so the contrast or the resolution of the two line pairs, okay, in real situation, away from the image, away from the machine itself, is always 100%. But the machine itself can detect the two line pairs as the two line pairs or not. This is the problem of the machine itself. So the contrast here of the machine, at which efficiency? 90%? 80%? So the ratio between the contrast of the image on the machine itself to the contrast of the image in the real situation, this is called modulation transfer function. Okay? You got it?
Yes, no.
Okay. Okay. Welcome. Okay, let's continue. So the MTF itself, it's affected by the scatter. Okay, if there is a scatter radiation of the window is very, you are increasing the window of imaging. At that time, you will find the loss here in the MTF value become very higher. Okay, with higher rate because there is a scatter radiation which affect on the image resolution. So any scatter will affect to reduce the resolution of the image itself. Without scatter, you will get higher value of MTF at the same line pairs, at the same spatial frequency. Uniformity, as you know very well, that we are using cobalt flood source or technetium flood source for uniformity. At that time, you will check that the crystal itself, sometimes we are using point source to detect the intrinsic uniformity. So at that time, we are removing the collimator. But here, what's called extrinsic uniformity, if I'm telling you intrinsic, that means we are not using a collimator. If I'm telling you, if I'm talking about extrinsic, that means we are using collimator, okay? So you have to check the uniformity for extrinsic uniformity and intrinsic uniformity. Intrinsic uniformity, we are using point source, okay? Very weak point source of technetium, and we are removing the collimator, and we have to make the distance from this point source to the surface of the collimator. It's around 5 field of view, which is around 2 meters. Okay, so we are detecting the crystal uniformity. But here in extrinsic uniformity, we are using cobalt flood source, which has activity from 10 to 20 millicurie. So at that time, we are check the system uniformity. Okay, system uniformity. For daily QC, we are using extrinsic uniformity. Okay, but monthly QC, we are doing intrinsic uniformity. As you can see here, this is a uniformity flood image. Okay, this image is very good. Okay, we can change the window level and the window width for this image and to check any ununiformity, but you will find here these patches, okay, which very clear. That means that there is a problem in the uniformity of the machine. Okay, so here, as you can see here, if there is any cracks in the crystal, it will appear like that. Also, if there is any photomultiplier tube which is not functional well, so at that time you will find that there is a drop or the drop in the signal at this point. That means photomultiplier tube here is not working. So if you are not checking very well the uniformity of, you are not doing this test, that means this artifact will affect on the image quality or affect on your diagnosis, and you don't know exactly what's happening behind this. So here, as you can see here, this image, okay, this image, this is for cardiac imaging, as you know very well. So this image, you will find here two different images. Okay, so here with this for technetium system maybe, okay, as you can see here, you will see here myocardial defect. Is it clear for you? Here, myocardial defect, okay, but this is because of uniformity test is failed. So the machine itself need to be recalibrated again, so the image quality will be better, and you can detect the you can, at the time you will avoid the false diagnosis of the image. Clear for you? Okay, I think from this image you cannot detect that there is any problem in the uniformity. Yes? There is no evidence or
From yeah, if it is in all patients, we can question it.
yeah, but if I share it by WhatsApp for you, you will see that there is a defect in the myocardial here, or I think this is intraepical or something. So you will report it as a defect or a positive defect. So, but
Yes.
yes, that's what I'm telling you. Okay, so uniformity is very important. So now for center of rotation, I think all of you hear about the center of rotation test, which is very important to check the mechanical stability of the machine itself. You have to determine the center of the machine, but all of you know very well that we are doing SPECT scan. That means the machine itself or the head rotating around the patient and the center of the patient should be the same from different angles or different views around the patient. So if there is any shift in the center, okay, at that time it will make misalignment in the image quality. As you can see here, this one, this misaligned image, okay, after center of rotation calibration or doing center of rotation again to check, so the image is repaired like that. Okay, so it's very important. I think there is no indication that there is a problem in the center of rotation. So it's very important to a quality control procedure to be done frequently and at a certain frequency by a qualified medical physicist, okay, to check all these parameters, okay, before starting scanning patient. Also here, as you can see, this image center of rotation here is good. Here, increasing the shift in X and Y dimension, you will find the image quality is very bad and misalignment in the image. Okay, also you will find some artifacts which are related to the number of counts. If the number of counts not enough to give you a good image quality, you will find here the noise. The image is very noisy like that, and it will affect the resolution and the contrast of the image. Okay, so you have to be sure that the technologist gets the proper counts. Okay, or the machine sensitivity itself. The machine sensitivity is good for any machine, for any imaging, for any nuclear modality. You will find sensitivity value. Sensitivity value, that means the machine itself can detect how much counts can be detected per millicurie per minute. Okay, so at that time, this sensitivity test should be done, okay, at after installation and annually. If there is any problem in the detection efficiency, so at that time for thyroid scan, for example, or for cardiac scan, the technologist adjusts the machine to take the image by time, not by count. Okay, so at that time, after 5 minutes for thyroid scan, for example, if there is any problem in the sensitivity, so you will get less count and the image quality will be so bad. So you have to check the sensitivity, which means your machine specifications, okay, so to be satisfied about it. And also, as I mentioned before, that at the beginning of any nuclear medicine facility, you have to adjust the protocol, and you have to be happy with or be satisfied about the image quality, and you have to adjust the protocol as per to be satisfied for you from for clinical diagnosis. Okay, so this is sensitivity part. We'll talk about the collimator resolution. As you know very well, here there is two resolution. One of them is related to the collimator or system resolution, and another one which is related to the crystal resolution. All of you, I think, working in nuclear medicine department, do you know something about the crystal thickness? Let me ask you, what's the difference between the two images, one and two, regarding this one? This is called the star artifact.
You mean the collimator technique?
Yes, yes, you are right. You are right. If you are scanning patient or iodine patient at that time using a low energy high resolution collimator or medium energy, okay, you are not using the proper collimator for that case. At that time, you will get this star artifact. Yes, because this star artifact happen because of that, as you know that very well, that the collimator is composed of septa, which is, if there is a point source like that which has high energy, at that time the photon will penetrate the septa. Okay, if this septal thickness is not enough to stop the scattered photon, at that time you will find this star artifacts. So you have to check the resolution of the machine, because what is the importance of resolution test? The importance of resolution test to check that the system resolution is good. So at that time we are checking the special resolution for the system as a whole, okay, using line source, okay, line source or capillary tube filled with radioactive material. So at that time we are measuring the what's called line profile. As you can see here, point split function, which is line profile like that, where this is a point source. Okay, so you have to calculate the fall width at half maximum. Fall width at half maximum, which give you indication about the resolution of the machine itself. Okay, so if there is any penetration happen, or the collimator septal thickness is not enough to stop the scattered radiation, okay, at that time the crystal itself will detect a photon here. Okay, so you will find the broadening in the Gaussian shape of this curve. So this curve will be more broadened like that, and the fall width at half maximum will be higher. So fall width at half maximum, when this value is low, at that time the resolution is good. But if the fall width at half maximum value is high, at that time the resolution is bad. Okay, so you have to the technologist or the medical physicist has to check the special resolution to check the septal penetration, okay, and special resolution of the machine, which might affect on the image quality like that. Also, as you know very well, we are using pinhole collimator with a certain aperture, which give you higher resolution. Okay, using low energy high resolution, at that time you will get this for technetium and this for iodine. Using a technetium which has low energy, so you can use low energy high resolution. Using a high energy, okay, at that time they will find the image pixelated like that. Why? Because not enough counts detected, because the gaps in high energy collimator is gap has a lower width, so not enough counts will be detected, so the image will be pixelated like that. But for iodine, when using low energy high resolution, you will find a lot of scattered like that, which is affecting the image quality, because at that time a lot of scattered radiation will penetrate the low energy high resolution collimator and reach the crystal, so you cannot get a high resoluted image. But using a high energy collimator, you will find the image like that. Okay, on comparable with pinhole collimator is the better one for thyroid scan. Here, as you can see here, 140 kilo electron volt low energy, this is the septal thickness, and percent of penetration is less than 1%. Here to 200, here the septal thickness 0.5, here 1%, here at 364, this is for iodine. So you'll find septal penetration, the amount of radiation which is penetrating the septal, it will be greater than 5%. Okay, is it clear for you? So now I think, is it clear for you, for everyone, to know the importance of quality control in SPECT or in nuclear facility? Okay? دكتور معايا ولا الأمور صعبة؟ Okay, دكتور. Thank you. في من باب البريك يعني 5 minutes كده، في انا عامل يوتيوب channel ليا على اليوتيوب، خلاص دي موجود فيها different lectures في النيوكلير ميديسين، وفي الفيزيكس اوف نيوكلير ميديسين، وفي الفيزيكس برضه للاف ار سي ار فيزيكس بالنسبه للميديكال ايمجنج، للاكس راي، الام ار اي، السي تي، حتى في راديشن بروتكشن والريجوليشنز. يعني دي ممكن تلاقوها سهله لو حضراتكم حد مور انترست يعني about the physics of the medical imaging. You will find يعني my YouTube channel under my name دكتور اسلام كمان. اوكي، You'll find many playlists talking about the physics of ultrasound, dental imaging, PET CT physics, gamma camera, quality control, and CT, MRI, X-ray, image understanding, and also image informatics.
Interesting. جزاك الله خير.
جزانا وإياكم. جزانا وإياكم.
شكرا يا دكتور.
عفوا دكتور. Okay, let's talk a little bit about the basic principle of targeted radionuclide therapy. Okay, as you know very well, I'm not a doctor, I'm only a medical physicist, okay? So I will not talk about the principle of targeted radionuclide therapy from clinical point of view. I'll talk about this topic, but from medical physics point of view, or I'll talk about some basic principle of targeted radionuclide therapy. Okay, so let's talk. If you want to get break 2 minutes or 3 minutes, or continue.
As you like.
اوكي مركزين يعني معايا تمام مفيش مشكله. اوكي هنتكلم عن البيسك برنسبل اوف تارجتد radionuclide therapy. في الاوتلاينز بالنسبه لنا هنتكلم عن البيزك ايديا اباوت تارجتد radionuclide therapy، هنتكلم عن الفيزيكس اوف تارجتد radionuclide therapy ايزوتوبس، وهنتكلم عن الديفرنت ميثودز اوف تارجتد radionuclide therapy. لما نيجي نتكلم عن البيزكس اوف تارجتد radionuclide therapy، هو في الاول يعني ايه تارجتد radionuclide therapy؟ يعني ايه تارجتد radionuclide therapy؟ الفكره كلها ان حضرتك او في عمليه التريتمنت بالنسبه للكانسر، انا بعتمد على ان انا بعمل ادمنستريشن بالنسبه للراديو اكتيف ماتيريال. الراديو اكتيف ماتيريال دي انا في الطبيعي في النيوكلير ميديسن بدي البيشنت او بعمل انجكشن للراديو اكتيف ماتيريال. الانجكشن للراديو اكتيف ماتيريال دي ممكن البيشنت ياخدها اورال، ممكن البيشنت ياخدها انترافينوس، وعلى حسب البروسيدور اللي انا بشتغل عليها، بس بيبقى الهدف من الراديو اكتيف ماتيريال دي انها تتحرك او جو ثرو بلاد ستريم، وبعد كده يحصل لها لوكاليزيشن في at a certain organ of interest for imaging purpose. انا عايز اعمل ايمجنج، فانا لما باجي اعمل عمليه سيلكشن للراديو ايزوتوب اللي انا بشتغل عليه، فبختار certain radio isotope with specific properties. لازم طبعا يكون شورت هاف لايف، ما يكونش لونج هاف لايف، لان انا عايز يحصل ووش اوت من الماده. ده لو بتكلم على الايمجنج. لازم يكون البريفرابل بالنسبه لي ان الراديو ايزوتوب يكون بيديني بيتا، لا طبعا بيكون بريفرابل بالنسبه لي ان هو بيديني جاما راديشن، produce gamma radiation عشان should be emitted from the patient and should be detected by the gamma camera. So you have to put a certain parameters if you are talking about imaging, and you have to put a certain parameter if you are talking about therapy. In case of therapy, we are talking about therapy, so at that time you have to put a certain specifications if we are talking about the radioactive material. In imaging procedure, we are labeling or binding the radioactive material with a certain carrier, like maybe like MDB, like DTPA, okay, according to the procedure itself, which deliver the radioactive material to the organ of interest. Same idea in targeted radionuclide therapy. We are using the radioactive source, okay, which emit which emit short range beta particle or GR electron, alpha particles, not using or not preferable to use gamma radiation, okay, or the highest abundance of the emitted radiation will be the particles, not the gamma photon. Why? Because it's not preferable to use gamma radiation here, because gamma radiation most